Fleeing the torrential rain, Marcus, a black single father, hurriedly shielded his young daughter Zara as they dashed into Murphy's diner. Amid the noisy bustle inside, Zara's mischievous eyes suddenly stopped at a quiet corner, a well-dressed elderly woman sitting before a bowl of soup gone cold, her elegance unable to hide a loneliness that pierced the heart. Without a moment's hesitation, the little girl slipped toward her, offering gentle questions and childlike warmth to thaw the woman's frozen spirit. Moved by the unexpected kindness, the old woman invited them to share a meal, never realizing that these small, tender acts would quietly weave a fateful connection none of them could have foreseen. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from, and subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The rain hammered down on Boston like it had a personal grudge against the city. Inside Murphy's diner, the fluorescent lights buzzed softly, casting a yellow glow over cracked vinyl booths and scuffed linoleum floors. The place smelled like old coffee and bacon grease that had seeped into every surface over decades. At the corner booth sat Beatrice Montgomery, looking completely out of place, her cream-colored fur coat draped carefully over the seat pearls glowing against her navy dress, silver hair styled perfectly despite the storm outside. But her eyes told a different story, staring blankly through the rain-streaked window at water cascading down the glass. The soup in front of her sat untouched, a thin film forming as it cooled. She'd been sitting there for 40 minutes because going back to her empty mansion felt worse than staying here. At 72, Beatrice had learned that loneliness didn't care how much money you had. The door crashed open, wind scattered napkins off the counter as a man stumbled in, pulling a small girl behind him, both soaking wet water dripping onto the floor with each step. The man wore a faded work jacket thin from years of use and mud-caked boots. He couldn't have been older than 35, but exhaustion aged his face beyond those years. The little girl, maybe 5 or 6, wore a pink raincoat 2 sizes too big. Sleeves hung past her hands, hood sliding down over her eyes repeatedly as she tried to keep up with her father's long strides. "Come on, baby girl, let's get you warmed up." His voice was gentle despite obvious fatigue as he guided her toward the counter, hand protective on her shoulder. A bored teenage waitress looked up from filing her nails, annoyance clear on her face. "What can I get you?" The man pulled out a handful of wet bills and coins, spreading them carefully on the counter. His hands were rough, calloused from hard labor. He counted slowly, lips moving silently. $5, 30 cents, another quarter, 2 dimes. Beatrice watched from her booth, unable to look away. She couldn't hear their conversation, but she could read the story in their body language. The little girl tugged on her father's sleeve, standing on tiptoes to see the menu board. "Daddy, can we get pancakes, the ones with the smiley face?" The man looked at the money, then back at the prices. His jaw tightened, shoulders hunching slightly. Beatrice knew that posture well, the weight of wanting to give your child everything and having nothing to give. "Let me see what we can do, princess." His voice tried staying light, but cracked on the last word. He turned back to the waitress, forcing himself to stand straighter. "How much for the tomato soup and a grilled cheese?" $7.50 for the soup. Sandwiches $4.25, $12.75 before tax. His hand hovered over the pile of money. Beatrice counted from across the room. Maybe $8 total. "Just the soup, then. And could we get some extra crackers, please?" The little girl's face fell, but she didn't complain. She just nodded and tried to smile, and that brave little smile made Beatrice's chest tighten in a way she hadn't felt in years. "That'll be $7.50. Plus tax $8.06. He counted out bills, then carefully added coins until he reached the exact amount. As he pushed the money across, Beatrice noticed his hands shaking slightly. Not from cold, but from something deeper. He picked up his daughter and carried her to a booth, setting her down gently. She immediately started drawing patterns in the window condensation little finger, making swirls and circles in the fog. "You warm enough, Zara?" "Uh-huh. But Daddy, are you going to eat too?" "I had a big lunch at work, baby. This is all for you." The lie was obvious. Beatrice could see the hollow look in his eyes, the gauntness in his cheeks. This man hadn't eaten all day. She looked back at her own table. Untouched soup. Basket of bread she'd requested, but didn't want. Side salad that came with her order. She'd ordered more than she could eat because that's what you did when you had money and nothing else. She thought about her granddaughter, Emily. 5 years old, just like this little girl. When was the last time Emily had looked at her with that kind of trust? When was the last time her own daughter had even returned her calls? Beatrice had spent Christmas alone staring at wrapped presents shipped to an address where people were too busy to visit. A small voice broke through her thoughts. "Are you sad?" Beatrice looked up startled. The little girl from the counter stood beside her booth, those big eyes studying her face with genuine concern. Up close, Beatrice could see water still dripping from her oversized raincoat, forming a small puddle on the floor. "Zara!" The man rushed over apology written all over his face. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. She just ran over before I could stop her." He reached for his daughter's hand, but the little girl didn't move. "You look like my daddy when he thinks I'm asleep." Zara continued tilting her head. "He sits by the window and looks sad too. Are you lonely?" The question hit Beatrice like a punch to the chest. Children saw things adults tried to hide. "I suppose I am, sweetheart. We can sit with you if you want. My teacher says nobody should eat alone because sharing makes food taste better." Zara's voice carried absolute certainty, the kind only children possessed. Marcus's face flushed with embarrassment. "Zara, we can't just invite ourselves to someone's table. The lady wants to eat in peace." But Beatrice found herself speaking before she could stop. "Actually, I would very much appreciate the company." She looked at Marcus, seeing the pride warring with exhaustion in his eyes. "I ordered far too much food, and I hate waste. Would you both consider helping me? There's plenty here." Marcus hesitated, jaw working, as he tried to find a polite way to refuse. His daughter had no such reservations. "Really? You mean it?" Zara's face lit up like someone had switched on a light inside her. "I do mean it." Beatrice gestured to the seat across from her, then caught the waitress's attention. "Could you bring another bowl of soup and a grilled cheese to this table and a hot chocolate for the little one? Coffee for—" She looked at the man expectantly. "Marcus. My name is Marcus. This is Zara." He stood there awkwardly, clearly torn between pride and the desperate need to feed his daughter properly. "Beatrice. Mrs. Beatrice Montgomery." She softened her voice, understanding his struggle. "Please sit. Your daughter is right. Nobody should eat alone." That seemed to decide him. Marcus slid into the booth, lifting Zara beside him. The little girl beamed at Beatrice, already comfortable in a way that made Beatrice's heart ache. "You're really pretty, like a queen in my storybook." Something cracked inside Beatrice's chest. When was the last time someone had looked at her with pure admiration instead of calculation? "Thank you, dear. And you're quite brave coming over to check on a stranger. Daddy says we should always be kind because everyone's fighting battles we can't see." Zara swung her legs under the table, unable to reach the floor. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, but Beatrice smiled genuinely. "Your daddy is a wise man." The waitress brought over the food, setting it down with barely concealed irritation. Soup, sandwiches, fries, bread, everything Beatrice had ordered, plus the additions. Zara's eyes went wide. "Is all this really for us?" "Every bit of it. I can't possibly eat it all myself." Marcus looked at the spread, then at Beatrice, his eyes shining with something between gratitude and desperate relief. "We really appreciate this, Mrs. Beatrice, more than you know." "It's nothing. Truly, the pleasure is mine." Her voice caught slightly, and she meant every word. They ate quietly at first. Beatrice watched as Marcus made sure Zara got the best portions, made sure she ate slowly, made sure she used her napkin. The tenderness in those small gestures made Beatrice's throat tight. "Mrs. Beatrice, why were you eating all alone? Don't you have a family?" Zara asked between bites of her grilled cheese. "Zara," Marcus's voice carried sharp embarrassment. "That's not polite." Beatrice held up her hand. "No, it's all right. She asked me first, after all." She looked at the little girl and chose honesty. "I do have a family, sweetheart, a daughter and a granddaughter about your age. But sometimes families live far apart, and sometimes people get so busy with their own lives that they forget to make time for each other." "That's really sad. If you were my grandma, I'd eat dinner with you every night. I'd tell you about my day and Roger the pigeon and everything." The words pierced something deep inside Beatrice. She blinked rapidly, surprised by tears threatening to fall. Marcus cleared his throat. "We should probably let Mrs. Beatrice finish in peace, baby girl." "No, please." Beatrice's voice came out almost desperate. "I'd like to hear about Roger the pigeon." Zara's face brightened, and she launched into a story about the pigeon who lived near their apartment building and tried to steal someone's sandwich that morning. She talked with pure enthusiasm, hands gesturing wildly, and Marcus interjected occasionally with gentle corrections when she got too excited. Beatrice found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. The waitress brought the check. Beatrice paid before Marcus could protest, adding a generous tip. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. Marcus helped Zara into her raincoat, pulling the hood over her head. "Thank you, Mrs. Beatrice, for everything." Zara was right. "You did look sad, and I hope we helped a little." "You did, more than you know." Beatrice's voice was thick with emotion. "Say thank you to Mrs. Beatrice Zara. Thank you for letting us make you feel better." Zara threw her arms around Beatrice's legs in an impulsive hug. Beatrice froze, then slowly placed her hand on the child's head, the gesture both foreign and achingly familiar. They walked away into the night, Marcus's hand firmly holding Zara's. Beatrice watched them disappear, standing there long after they'd vanished. Mist settled on her coat, her hair beginning to frizz. For the first time in years, she didn't feel quite so alone. That night in her empty house, lying in her expensive bed, Beatrice Montgomery smiled as she fell asleep. That chance meeting had changed everything. The morning sun cut through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Beatrice's mansion, illuminating dust particles floating in the air. She sat at the end of a dining table that could seat 20, picking at her breakfast. The housekeeper had prepared eggs, Benedict fresh fruit, artisan bread. All of it tasted like cardboard. Her phone sat beside her plate screen, dark and accusing. She'd already checked it 3 times in the last 10 minutes. No messages, no missed calls. Beatrice scrolled through her photo gallery, stopping at a picture of Emily from 6 months ago. Her granddaughter wore a pink tutu, mid-spin face caught in pure joy. Beatrice couldn't remember who had sent her the photo. Her daughter Claire's husband. Did it even matter? She pressed the call button before she could talk herself out of it. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Just when she expected voicemail, Claire's voice cut through. "Mother, I really don't have time right now. Not hello, not how are you. Just immediate dismissal. I was hoping to see Emily this weekend. Perhaps take her to that new children's museum downtown." A long sigh crackled through the speaker. "We're in the Hamptons with Richard's family. I told you about this last month." "You didn't." "I most certainly did. You probably weren't listening." Papers rustled in the background. "Look, Mother, I have to go. Richard's mother is waiting." "Of course. Richard's mother." Beatrice kept her voice level, refusing to show the hurt. "How wonderful that she gets to spend time with her granddaughter." "Don't start with the guilt trip. You had your chance to be involved when I was growing up. You chose board meetings and charity galas instead." The accusation stung because it carried truth. Beatrice had thrown herself into work after her husband died, building an empire, while Claire raised herself with the help of nannies. "I'm trying now, Claire." "Well, now isn't convenient. We'll talk later." The line went dead. Beatrice set the phone down carefully, like it might shatter. She looked around the vast dining room. Oil paintings in gilded frames. Crystal chandelier worth more than most people's cars. Silk curtains imported from Italy. Everything beautiful and cold and utterly meaningless. She thought about Marcus and Zara in that cramped booth last night. The way they'd looked at each other. The gentle way he'd wiped soup from her chin. The absolute trust in that little girl's eyes. Beatrice had everything. They had nothing. Yet somehow they seemed richer than she'd ever been. Across the city, Marcus's alarm hadn't gone off. He jolted awake to bright sunlight streaming through the cracked window, blind panic immediately flooding his system. Shit. He grabbed his phone, 7:45. He was supposed to clock in at 8. "Zara, baby, wake up. We gotta go now." Zara stirred in the small bed they shared, rubbing her eyes. Their studio apartment was barely 400 square feet. Kitchen, bedroom, and living room all crammed into one space, with a bathroom so small you had to stand sideways to close the door. The ceiling had water stains from the apartment above. The radiator clanked and hissed, but never quite warmed the place. But it was theirs, and it was better than the shelter they'd lived in 2 years ago. Marcus threw on his work clothes, still dirty from yesterday. No time for a shower. He grabbed the last clean outfit for Zara, helped her dress, while simultaneously trying to find his work boots. "Are we late, Daddy?" "Yeah, baby. We gotta hurry." He couldn't afford daycare. The cheapest option ran $800 a month, and he barely cleared $2,000 after taxes working at the warehouse. Rent ate up $1,200. Food, utilities, clothes, bus fare. It all added up faster than he could count. Usually his neighbor Mrs. Chen watched Zara for $20 a day, but Mrs. Chen had the flu and Marcus was out of options. "You're going to come to work with Daddy today, okay? But you have to be really quiet and stay in the break room." Zara nodded solemnly, understanding more than a 5-year-old should have to. They caught the bus by running the last 2 blocks. Marcus's lungs burned Zara bouncing in his arms despite her getting too big to carry. Other passengers gave them looks ranging from sympathetic to annoyed. The warehouse sat in an industrial park on the outskirts of the city. Massive concrete building loading docks, the constant beep of forklifts backing up. Marcus clocked in at 8:17, knowing his supervisor would dock his pay. "Williams, you're late." Frank Delaney's voice carried across the warehouse floor. He was a thick man with a permanent scowl, the kind of supervisor who enjoyed the small power his position gave him. "I know, sir. I'm sorry. Won't happen again." Frank's eyes landed on Zara, clinging to Marcus's hand. "What the hell is that?" "My daughter, sir. My sitter fell through and I couldn't find anyone else. She'll stay in the break room. Won't cause any trouble." "This ain't a daycare, Williams. You know the rules. No unauthorized personnel." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Please, Mr. Delaney, just for today. I'll work through lunch to make up the time. I'll stay late, whatever you need." Frank crossed his arms, clearly enjoying watching Marcus squirm. "One day. That's it. If I see her anywhere near the floor, you're done. Understand?" "Yes, sir. Thank you." Marcus led Zara to the break room, a cramped space with a vending machine microwave and 3 folding tables. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in harsh white light. "Okay, princess, you need to stay right here. Don't go wandering around, don't touch anything. You can draw or play quietly. Can you do that for Daddy?" Zara nodded, already pulling out the small pad of paper and broken crayons Marcus kept in his bag. "I'll come check on you every break, okay? If you need anything at all, you come find me. But be careful and watch for the forklifts." He kissed her forehead, hating himself for putting her in this position. She deserved better. She deserved a real childhood, not hiding in break rooms and watching every penny. The morning crawled by. Marcus hauled boxes, loaded trucks, his mind half on work and half on Zara alone in that room. Every time Frank walked past, Marcus's shoulders tensed, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. At 10:30, Marcus's break came. He practically ran to the break room. Zara sat at one of the tables, completely absorbed in her drawing. She'd covered the paper with a house stick, figures, trees. The proportions were wrong, but the heart was there. "What you drawing, baby girl?" "It's you and me and Mrs. Beatrice. See, we're all having dinner again. And there's no rain, and we're all smiling." Marcus's chest tightened. One meal with a stranger, and Zara had latched onto it like a lifeline. It broke his heart because he understood. That brief moment of warmth and plenty had meant everything to both of them. "It's beautiful. You're getting really good at drawing. You think Mrs. Beatrice would like it? Maybe we could give it to her if we see her again?" "Maybe, sweetheart, but we probably won't see her again. She was just being nice that one time." Zara's face fell, but she didn't argue. She'd learned not to hope for too much. Marcus's break ended too soon. Back to the grind, back to the constant ache in his back and shoulders, back to watching the clock tick toward the end of his shift. At 2 p.m., everything went wrong. Marcus was stacking boxes on a high shelf when he heard Frank's voice echoing through the warehouse, loud and angry. His blood ran cold. He climbed down the ladder fast, nearly slipping on the last rung. His heart hammered as he rounded the corner to the break room. Frank stood over Zara, who'd backed herself into a corner, eyes wide with fear. Her drawing lay scattered on the floor, torn where Frank had stepped on it. "I told you no kids in the facility. What part of that didn't you understand?" "She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just sitting there quietly." Marcus moved between Frank and his daughter, every protective instinct firing at once. "I don't care if she was sitting there like a statue. This is a workplace, not a nursery. You're done, Williams. Pack your shit and get out." The words hit like a physical blow. Marcus's mind raced calculating rent food bills. Without this job, they'd be back on the streets in weeks. "Please, Mr. Delaney, I need this job. I'll make sure it never happens again. I'll work double shifts. You'll leave. Now. Before I call security." Marcus felt Zara's small hand slip into his, trembling. He looked down at her terrified face, and something inside him shifted. His daughter was watching. She didn't need to see him beg. "Fine." His voice came out steadier than he felt. "Come on, Zara." He gathered their things, grabbed his time card, and walked out with his head up. Only when they were outside the cold air hitting his face did the reality crash down. He had $43 in his checking account. Rent was due in 12 days. He'd just lost their only income. Zara tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, are you mad at me?" Marcus dropped to his knees right there on the sidewalk, pulling her into a tight hug. "No, baby. No, this isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. I tried to be really quiet. I didn't mean to make trouble." "I know, princess. I know." His voice cracked. He held her close, feeling her small body shake with silent tears. They couldn't afford the bus. Marcus hoisted Zara onto his back and started walking. 4 miles back to their apartment. His back screamed in protest, his work boots rubbing blisters on his heels. Zara rested her cheek against his shoulder, quiet in that worried way that meant she understood things were bad. "Daddy." "Yeah, baby. Maybe Mrs. Beatrice was an angel, like in the stories. Maybe God sent her to help us when we needed it most." Marcus didn't believe in angels. He believed in hard work and bad luck and a system stacked against people like him. But he couldn't bring himself to crush his daughter's hope. "Maybe so, Zara. Maybe so." 3 days later, Beatrice sat on a bench in Boston Common, tossing breadcrumbs to a cluster of pigeons. The birds fought over each piece, their aggressive cooing filling the late afternoon air. She'd taken to coming here when the house felt too oppressive, when the silence pressed down like a physical weight. An older couple walked past, arms linked, laughing at some private joke. Beatrice watched them until they disappeared around a bend in the path. 73 years old, and she couldn't remember the last time someone had touched her with genuine affection. "Mrs. Beatrice." The voice made her turn. Zara came running down the path, pink jacket flapping open braids, bouncing with each step. Marcus followed behind, moving slower defeat, written in every line of his body. The little girl crashed into Beatrice's legs, wrapping her arms around her knees. "I knew it was you. I told Daddy I saw you from way over there." "Hello, sweetheart." Beatrice's voice caught with unexpected emotion. She'd thought about them constantly since that night, wondering if she'd imagined the connection. Marcus reached them, embarrassment crossing his face. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Beatrice. She got away from me." "Don't apologize. I'm delighted to see you both." Beatrice studied Marcus more carefully. Dark circles under his eyes, shoulders hunched. The spark she'd seen in the diner had dimmed considerably. "Please sit." Marcus hesitated, then lowered himself onto the bench, maintaining a careful distance. Zara immediately climbed between them, chattering about the pigeons. "I call that one Roger. He's the brave one. See how he comes right up to your feet. The others are scared, but not Roger. Roger is quite bold." Beatrice watched the pigeon strut around, and then she turned her attention to Marcus. "How have you been?" "We're good. Fine." The lie was obvious. Zara looked up at her father, then back at Beatrice. "Daddy lost his job. The mean man yelled at me and made Daddy leave." "Zara." "It's true. And now, Daddy stays up at night looking at papers, and he thinks I don't know he's worried. But I do." Marcus's jaw clenched, humiliation flooding his face. "We're managing. I've got some applications out. Something will come through." Beatrice recognized that particular brand of pride. She'd worn it herself years ago before money made everything easier. "What kind of work are you looking for?" "Anything. Warehouse, construction, retail. I'm not picky. Just needs to pay enough to cover rent and food." He stared at the ground. "I got skills. I can fix things, build things. Just need someone to give me a chance." The defeat in his voice struck her deeply. Here was a man willing to work, wanting to work, and the world kept slamming doors in his face. "Tell me about yourself, Marcus. What did you do before the warehouse?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Does it matter? Humor an old woman." A long pause. Then he started talking, words coming slowly at first. "I was in college, engineering. Had a partial scholarship, worked 2 jobs to cover the rest. Then my girlfriend got pregnant junior year. She didn't want a baby, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get rid of it." He looked at Zara with such fierce love that Beatrice's heart ached. She left 3 months after Zara was born, said she wasn't ready to be a mother, signed over all her rights, and that was that. I dropped out to take care of my daughter. Figured I'd go back eventually, but there's never enough money, never enough time. And now here we are. You gave up your education for your child. I didn't give up anything. I chose her. I'd choose her every single time. His voice carried absolute certainty. Beatrice thought about Claire, about all the nannies and boarding schools and business trips. "She's lucky to have you." "Sometimes I wonder." She deserves better than this. Better than one meal a day and secondhand clothes and watching her dad fail over and over. You're not failing. You're surviving an unfair system. Marcus laughed bitterly. Same difference when you're living it. They sat in silence for a moment. Zara had moved off the bench to chase pigeons, her laughter bright against the heavy conversation. "Mrs. Beatrice," Marcus said quietly, "that night at the diner, that wasn't charity, was it? You really were lonely. Desperately so. I don't understand. You've got money, nice clothes, education. How can someone like you be lonely?" Beatrice chose her words carefully. "I have a daughter who won't return my calls, a granddaughter I see in photographs but never in person, friends who only want something from me, whether it's money or connections or social standing. I spent 40 years building wealth and sacrificed every meaningful relationship in the process. Now I have everything and nothing at all." Marcus absorbed this, his expression softening. "That's rough. We're both isolated, just in different ways. You can't afford to engage with the world. I can afford everything except genuine human connection. That why you bought us dinner? We were charity." "No." Beatrice met his eyes directly. "You and Zara reminded me what it feels like to matter to someone. Your daughter looked at me with pure affection, not calculation. She asked if I was lonely, not what I could do for her. That's worth more than any stock portfolio." Zara ran back over breathless and happy. "Can we feed them more bread? Roger's still hungry." Beatrice reached into her purse, pulling out the bag she'd brought specifically for this purpose. "Here you go, sweetheart. Make sure all the birds get some, not just Roger." As Zara ran off again, Marcus spoke quietly. "I don't take handouts. I'm not offering one." "Then what do you call this running into us here?" Beatrice smiled slightly. "I call it sitting in a public park at the same time as you. Pure coincidence." It wasn't. She'd come to this park every day for 3 days, hoping. Right. Coincidence. But Marcus's voice held no real anger. They watched Zara toss breadcrumbs, her joy infectious, even in their complicated moment. "I meant what I said at the diner," Beatrice continued. "Nobody should be alone. That includes both of us." "What are you suggesting?" "Nothing formal. Just perhaps we could run into each other occasionally. Here at the park. Maybe share a meal now and then. Your daughter is delightful company, and frankly, I could use friends who don't want anything from me." Marcus studied her suspicion, warring with something that looked like hope. "You really just want company. I really just want company. And before you get proud on me, this benefits me as much as you. More probably, Zara makes me laugh. You make me think. That's rare at my age. We're not a charity case. And I'm not a lonely old woman desperate for attention. Except I am, and you are struggling, and maybe we could help each other without making it weird." A long pause. Then Marcus's shoulders relaxed slightly. "Okay, friends then, but I pay my own way when I can." "Agreed. And I'll try not to accidentally order too much food that I can't possibly finish." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Zara returned, plopping down between them. "All the birds got food, even the shy ones." "That's very kind of you." Beatrice smoothed the child's braids, the gesture becoming more natural each time. "Mrs. Beatrice, do you live near here?" "Not terribly far." "Do you have any kids?" "I do. A daughter named Claire, and a granddaughter named Emily, who's exactly your age." "Can I meet her? We could be friends." Beatrice's chest tightened. "Perhaps someday, sweetheart." Marcus caught her expression and gently redirected Zara's attention. "Hey, baby girl, why don't you go see if you can count all the different colored pigeons?" As Zara bounced off, Marcus spoke quietly. "The daughter who won't return calls." "The very same. We're complicated. Family usually is." They sat together as the sun started to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in months, Beatrice felt something like contentment. 2 weeks passed in a pattern that surprised both of them with its ease. Beatrice would accidentally be at the park when Marcus and Zara came through. Sometimes they'd sit for 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. Marcus never asked for anything, and Beatrice never offered directly. But things had a way of happening. A bag of groceries left on a bench. "Oh dear, I seem to have bought far too much. Would you mind terribly? I hate waste." A $20 bill found near where Zara played. "Look what someone dropped. You should take it to that ice cream truck before whoever lost it comes back." Marcus saw through every excuse but stopped fighting it. Pride couldn't feed his daughter, and Beatrice's efforts came wrapped in just enough plausible deniability to let him accept. On a Thursday afternoon, Beatrice arrived at the park carrying a package wrapped in plain brown paper. Zara spotted it immediately. "What's that?" "Oh, this old thing I was cleaning out my attic and found some items I thought you might enjoy." Beatrice sat down, placing the package between them. "My granddaughter has outgrown these, and they're too nice to throw away." Marcus's expression turned wary. "Mrs. Beatrice, before you get stubborn, let me finish. These are just gathering dust in my house. You'd actually be doing me a favor by taking them. Storage space is limited." The lie was smooth and kind. Zara looked at her father with pleading eyes. Marcus sighed. "Okay, but this is the last time." "Of course, absolutely the last time." Until next week, Beatrice thought, but didn't say. Zara tore into the package, gasping with delight. A professional-grade art set the kind with real brushes and quality paints. A doll with beautiful clothes and accessories. Both looked brand new because they were. "These are mine, really mine. All yours, sweetheart." Zara threw her arms around Beatrice, squeezing tight. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Beatrice held the small body close, breathing in the scent of cheap shampoo and playground dust. When was the last time someone had hugged her with pure gratitude? Marcus cleared his throat, his voice rough. "Thank you. This means—" "You don't know what this means." "I think I do." Beatrice met his eyes. "It means one little girl gets to be a kid for a while. That's worth everything." Zara was already absorbed in the art supplies, laying out each piece with reverent care. "Daddy, look, real watercolors, and the brushes are so soft." Marcus watched his daughter, his expression complex. "You're really good with her." "I wish I'd been this good with my own daughter." Beatrice's voice carried old regrets. "I was always too busy, too focused on work. I thought providing financially was the same as providing emotionally." "You learned, though. That counts for something." "Does it? Claire still won't speak to me." "Maybe she will eventually. People change. Forgiveness happens." Beatrice wanted to believe him, but 30 years of distance felt impossible to cross. "Hey," Marcus said, shifting gears, "my apartment has this leaky faucet that the landlord won't fix. You mentioned you had a garden at your house." "I do." "Well, the gardener has a garden. I mostly just look at it. Maybe I could take a look at your irrigation system or whatever. Pay you back a little for all this." Beatrice considered this carefully. Marcus needed to give, needed to feel useful. "Actually, there is something. My fountain in the back garden stopped working last month. The repair company wanted $800 just to look at it. Could you possibly—" "I can fix that. Probably just a pump issue or clogged filter." "Perfect. Why don't you both come by Saturday? I'll make lunch, you can look at the fountain, and Zara can use the art supplies in the garden. The light is beautiful there." Marcus hesitated, and Beatrice held her breath. This was the first time she'd explicitly invited them to her home. It felt like crossing some invisible line. "Okay," he finally said, "but I fixed the fountain. We're even. No more packages." "Deal." She'd agree to anything to get them through her door. Saturday arrived with perfect weather. Beatrice had been awake since 5 a.m., directing her housekeeper through a cleaning that didn't need doing, changing outfits 3 times, rearranging furniture. The staff exchanged confused glances, but said nothing. When the doorbell finally rang at 11, Beatrice practically ran to answer it. Her housekeeper Maria raised an eyebrow, but wisely kept quiet. Marcus stood on her doorstep in clean but worn jeans and a t-shirt toolbox in hand. Zara wore a little yellow dress, clearly her best outfit, and clutched her new art supplies. "Holy shit!" Marcus breathed, then caught himself. "Sorry. I mean, this is your house." The mansion rose 3 stories of red brick and white columns surrounded by manicured lawns that rolled out like green carpet. It was old money beautiful, the kind of place that appeared in magazines. "It's too much house for one person," Beatrice said, meaning it. "Please come in." They stepped into the marble foyer, Zara's eyes wide as she took in the sweeping staircase, the chandelier, the oil paintings worth more than Marcus made in a year. "Mrs. Beatrice, do you live here all by yourself?" "I do. Silly, isn't it? It's like a castle. Are you a princess?" "Just an old woman with too much space and not enough laughter to fill it." Maria appeared with fresh lemonade and cookies, setting them on the patio table. Beatrice had asked her to make chocolate chip Zara's favorite according to their park conversations. The garden stretched out behind the house, roses and lilies and carefully sculpted hedges. A stone fountain sat silent in the center, moss growing in its crevices. "There's the patient," Beatrice gestured to the fountain. Marcus set down his toolbox, already examining the issue with professional eyes. I can fix this. Might take a couple hours. Take all the time you need. Zara and I will be right over there if you need anything. She led Zara to a shaded table overlooking the garden, setting out paper and paints. The little girl dove in immediately, tongue poking out in concentration as she worked. Beatrice sat beside her, not painting, but simply watching. The garden came alive with Zara's presence in a way it never had before. "What are you painting, sweetheart?" "Our house. See, that's the fountain and the roses and the big tree. And this is you and me and Daddy all sitting together." Every picture included all three of them. Beatrice noticed this pattern, felt the hope embedded in each brushstroke. They painted and talked, Zara chattering about everything and nothing. About Roger the pigeon, who she'd seen 3 times this week. About her favorite color changing from pink to purple. About how she wanted to be an artist when she grew up. "You know what?" Zara said, suddenly looking up from her painting. "You're like a grandma. Not my real grandma, because I don't have one, but like a heart grandma." Beatrice's breath caught. "A heart grandma." "Yeah, someone who's your grandma because you love each other, not because you have to be family." Simple childhood wisdom, devastating in its clarity. "I would be honored to be your heart grandma." Beatrice managed, voice thick. Zara beamed and went back to painting, the moment casual for her, but earth-shaking for Beatrice. Across the garden, Marcus worked on the fountain, his capable hands taking apart the mechanism. Beatrice watched him, this young man who'd sacrificed everything for his daughter, who maintained dignity in the face of constant defeat. Mrs. Beatrice Zara pulled her attention back. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything, dear." "Why doesn't your real granddaughter come visit? If I had a grandma like you, I'd visit every day." How to explain adult complications to a child? Sometimes families get tangled up in hurt feelings and misunderstandings. My daughter is angry with me for things I did a long time ago, and she keeps her daughter away because of that. That's sad. Doesn't she know you're lonely? I don't think she cares very much. Zara considered this with the seriousness only children could muster. Well, she's being silly. You're the best. She doesn't know what she's missing. The simple statement cracked something open in Beatrice's chest. She pulled Zara into a hug, holding her close while trying not to cry. "Thank you, sweetheart. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that." They spent the afternoon in easy companionship. Marcus got the fountain working, water bubbling up and cascading down in musical patterns. He was sweaty and dirty, but grinning with accomplishment. "There she goes. Good as new." "Marcus, that's wonderful. The company wanted $800 and couldn't even tell me what was wrong. Just a clogged intake and a worn gasket. Cost maybe $15 in parts. Companies rip people off all the time." "Well, you saved me a fortune. Please let me pay you." "Nope. Deal was I fix the fountain. We're even." "But we're even, Mrs. Beatrice." That stubborn pride again. Beatrice tried a different approach. "Then at least stay for dinner. I insist. Maria made pot roast, and there's far too much for just me." Marcus looked ready to refuse, but Zara jumped in. "Please, Daddy. Please, I want to eat in the fancy dining room." He couldn't resist his daughter's enthusiasm. "Okay, but just dinner." They ate in the kitchen instead, Beatrice deciding the formal dining room was too stuffy. The kitchen was warm and filled with the smell of home cooking. Maria served them with a smile, pleased to see her employer actually enjoying a meal. Zara told elaborate stories between bites, making them all laugh. Marcus relaxed gradually, the constant tension in his shoulders easing. Beatrice felt something she hadn't experienced in years, contentment. After dinner, as the sun set over the garden, Zara fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from the day's excitement. Marcus moved to wake her, but Beatrice stopped him. "Let her rest a moment. We can talk." They sat in the living room, the silence comfortable rather than awkward. "This place is really something," Marcus said quietly. "But you're right. It's too big for one person. Feels empty, even with all the expensive stuff. It's a monument to my mistakes. Every room represents a choice I made wrong." "That's pretty dark, but true. I built this empire and lost everything that mattered along the way." Marcus studied her. "You're doing something about it, though. With us. You're trying." "Am I? Or am I just lonely and using you both to fill the gap? Does it matter? We're all getting something out of this." "Zara's happy. I haven't seen her this happy in maybe ever. And you get to feel needed. Everybody wins. It feels unequal. I have so much, you have so little. You think money's the only thing that matters, Marcus interrupted. You're giving my daughter attention, kindness, stability. You're teaching her that the world has good people in it. That's worth more than all your fancy furniture. Beatrice felt tears threaten again. You're very gracious. I'm realistic. Yeah, you're helping us financially, and I'd be lying if I said that didn't matter. But that's not why Zara draws pictures of us together. That's not why she calls you her heart grandma. She loves you because you see her, really see her. I see you both. And I'm grateful you let me into your lives. Marcus smiled, genuine and warm. Well, someone had to take pity on a lonely old rich lady. She laughed, surprised by his teasing. Careful, or this lonely old rich lady might rescind her dinner invitation. You wouldn't dare. Zara would never forgive you. They sat in companionable silence, watching the sleeping child. Outside the fountain, Marcus had fixed bubbled peacefully. The house felt less empty than it had in years. For the first time since her husband died, Beatrice Montgomery felt like she had a family again. Not the one she was born with, but the one she'd chosen. And that made all the difference. The call came at 2:30 in the morning. Beatrice jerked awake to her phone's shrill ring cutting through the dark. She fumbled for it, heart already racing because nothing good ever came from calls at this hour. Hello, Mrs. Beatrice. Marcus's voice cracked with barely contained panic. I'm sorry to call so late, but I don't know what to do. Zara's sick. Really sick. She's burning up, and I can't get the fever down, and she's not making sense, and… Slow down. Tell me what's happening. She started feeling bad yesterday, but I thought it was just a cold. But tonight, she spiked a fever, and now she's talking nonsense, and she won't wake up properly, and I called 911, but they want to take her to County General, and I don't have insurance, and I don't know. Where are you? We're still at home. The ambulance is coming, but… Tell them to take her to Mass General instead. I'll meet you there. Mrs. Beatrice, I can't afford. I don't care. Tell them Mass General. I'm leaving now. She was already out of bed, pulling on clothes, grabbing her purse. Her driver lived above the garage. She called him on her way down the stairs. Edward, I need you now. Emergency. To his credit, he didn't ask questions, just met her at the car in under 5 minutes. Mass General, as fast as you can. The drive took 15 minutes that felt like hours. Beatrice's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. She'd lost her husband to sudden illness. She knew how quickly everything could fall apart. The emergency room at Mass General gleamed with efficiency and expensive equipment. Beatrice swept in like she owned the place, which, financially speaking, she kind of did. The Montgomery wing had been funded by her donation 10 years ago. I'm looking for a child who should be arriving any moment. Zara Williams. She's to receive the absolute best care available. The nurse behind the desk started to speak, but Beatrice cut her off. I'm Beatrice Montgomery. Call Dr. Harrison immediately. Tell him I need him now. The nurse's eyes widened with recognition. Dr. Harrison was the chief of pediatrics and also happened to serve on a board that Beatrice chaired. Right away, Mrs. Montgomery. Minutes later, an ambulance pulled up. Beatrice rushed outside as EMTs unloaded a gurney, carrying a small, frighteningly still form. Marcus jumped out behind them, wild-eyed and terrified. He wore sweatpants and a t-shirt turned inside out, no shoes. Mrs. Beatrice, come with me. Don't worry about anything except Zara. They swept into the ER as a unit. Dr. Harrison appeared, taking charge immediately. Get her into trauma 2. Full workup CBC culture CT if needed. The team moved with practiced efficiency, but Marcus stood frozen, watching his daughter disappear behind curtains. Sir, I need to get your insurance information. A clerk approached with a clipboard. I don't have insurance, but I can pay something. I just need to set up a payment plan. He doesn't need to worry about that. Beatrice's voice cut through. I'm handling all expenses. Send the bills to my office. The clerk looked between them, confused. You heard Mrs. Montgomery, Dr. Harrison said firmly. This child gets whatever she needs, documented under the Montgomery account. But hospital policy, I don't care about policy. This is my hospital, my wing, my rules. Now go do your job. The clerk scurried off. Marcus stared at Beatrice, shock and gratitude warring on his face. You can't pay for this. It'll be thousands, tens of thousands probably. And I absolutely can and will pay every penny. Why, we're nothing to you. You're everything to me, Beatrice said fiercely. That little girl calls me her heart grandma. Do you really think I'm going to let money stand between her and proper medical care? Marcus's face crumpled. He turned away, shoulders shaking. Beatrice had never been good with emotional displays, but she reached out anyway, placing her hand on his back. She's going to be okay. Dr. Harrison is the best in the state. You don't know that. You can't promise that. You're right, but I can promise you won't face this alone. They stood together in the harsh fluorescent light, both terrified, both helpless. Money couldn't fix everything, but it could buy the best possible chance. An hour passed, then two. Dr. Harrison finally emerged, his expression serious, but not grave. She's stabilized. It's bacterial meningitis. We caught it early, which is very lucky. Another few hours and... He didn't need to finish. Marcus swayed, and Beatrice grabbed his arm to steady him. Can I see her? His voice barely worked. She's sleeping, but yes. Room 412. We'll keep her for at least a week, possibly longer, depending on how she responds to treatment. Marcus was already moving toward the elevator. Beatrice followed, her heart pounding. Room 412 was private, spacious, with morning light just beginning to filter through the windows. Zara looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, IV lines snaking from her arm monitors beeping softly. Marcus collapsed into the chair beside her, taking her small hand in his. "Baby girl, Daddy's here. You're safe now." Beatrice stood in the doorway, not wanting to intrude on their moment, but Marcus looked back at her. "Please stay." She moved to the other side of the bed, pulling up a second chair. They sat vigil together as the sun rose over Boston, both watching the gentle rise and fall of Zara's chest. Around 9 a.m., a nurse came in to check vitals. She was young blonde, and her eyes flickered over Marcus with thinly veiled disdain. "Sir, I need to ask you to step out while I examine the patient. I'm her father. I'm staying. Hospital policy states." "He's staying," Beatrice said coldly. "Is there a problem?" The nurse's attitude shifted immediately upon recognizing Beatrice. "No, ma'am. Of course not." But the damage was done. Beatrice saw it in Marcus's face, the familiar resignation to being treated as less than. After the nurse left, Beatrice spoke quietly. "That was unacceptable. I'll have a word with the nursing supervisor." "Don't bother. I'm used to it." "Well, you shouldn't have to be." Marcus rubbed his face, exhaustion catching up with him. "Do you know how many times I've been followed in stores? How many times security has been called because someone assumed I was stealing? How many job applications got ignored the moment they saw my name or met me in person? That's reality. My reality. Zara's reality." He looked at his sleeping daughter. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing her a disservice bringing her into a world that's going to judge her before she even opens her mouth." Beatrice didn't have words. Her privilege had insulated her from these experiences. She'd never had to think about being followed in stores or having her intentions questioned. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "For all of it. For the nurse, for the system, for every door that's been slammed in your face. It's not your fault. Maybe not. But I've benefited from the same system that crushes you. That makes me complicit." Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. "You're different than I expected. Rich people usually don't think about this stuff. I'm trying to be better, trying to see beyond my bubble." "You're doing okay." He managed a small smile. "Zara loves you. That's all that really matters." Around noon, Zara stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. "Daddy." "I'm right here, baby girl, right here." "Where am I? I don't feel good." "You're in the hospital. You got really sick, but the doctors are making you better." Zara's eyes found Beatrice. "Mrs. Beatrice, are you here too?" "I am, sweetheart. I wouldn't be anywhere else." "Did you stay all night?" "We both did." Beatrice smoothed the child's hair back from her forehead. "You gave us quite a scare." "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong." Zara's eyes were already closing again. "Love you, heart, Grandma." The words hung in the air. Marcus looked at Beatrice, something shifting in his expression. "She's never said that to anyone except me." Beatrice couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. She just nodded, holding Zara's small hand as the girl drifted back to sleep. They stayed like that for hours. Hospital staff came and went. Meals were brought and mostly ignored. Time blurred into a strange vigil where nothing existed beyond that room and that sleeping child. Evening came. A nurse suggested Marcus go home, get some rest, but he refused. Beatrice made a phone call, and an hour later, Edward arrived with food, changes of clothes, and toiletries for them both. "You thought of everything," Marcus said, looking at the bag. "I've had practice being efficient." They took turns using the private bathroom to freshen up. When Marcus emerged, Beatrice spoke carefully. "There's a parent room 2 doors down. You should try to sleep. I'll stay with her. I can't leave her. I'm not asking you to leave. I'm asking you to rest for a few hours so you don't collapse. I'll wake you if anything changes. I promise. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. 2 hours. That's it. Take 4. She needs you strong, not exhausted. After he left, Beatrice sat alone with Zara. She studied the child's face, the soft curve of her cheek, the way her eyelashes fanned out. This little girl who'd crashed into her life and changed everything. You're going to be fine, Beatrice whispered. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise. She thought about Emily, about the granddaughter she barely knew. Claire had sent pictures from the Hamptons. Emily at the beach. Emily with her other grandmother Emily everywhere except with Beatrice. But here was Zara, calling her heart grandma, loving her with the simple certainty children possessed. Beatrice had spent her whole life chasing success, building companies, making money, creating a legacy. And in the end, all that mattered was sitting in a hospital room holding a sick child's hand. She pulled out her phone looking at the last message from Claire. 3 weeks old. A curt response about being too busy. Beatrice typed out a text. I love you, Claire. I know I wasn't the mother you needed, but I'm trying to be better. I hope someday you'll give me another chance. Your mother. She didn't expect a response, but sending it felt important anyway. Marcus came back after 3 hours, looking slightly better. They traded places, Beatrice taking the parent room this time. The couch was uncomfortable, the room cold, but she fell asleep almost immediately. She dreamed of children, of chances missed and opportunities found, of building bridges instead of empires. She woke to her phone ringing, Claire's name on the screen, her heart hammering. Beatrice answered. Hello, Mom. Claire's voice was small, uncertain. I got your text. Are you okay? It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a magical reconciliation, but it was a start. I'm at the hospital. A friend's child is very ill. I didn't know you had friends with kids. I do now. It's a recent development. Silence on the line. Then, Mom, about the Hamptons. I'm sorry I was short with you. Richard's family is just so demanding and I felt caught in the middle. I understand. I'm sorry for pushing. More silence. Beatrice waited, not wanting to break whatever fragile thread connected them in this moment. Maybe Emily and I could visit next weekend just for lunch. Beatrice's breath caught. I would love that. More than you know. Okay. I'll call you later this week to confirm. The line went dead. Beatrice sat in the dark, tears streaming down her face, not of sadness, but of something closer to hope. Sometimes things had to break completely before they could be put back together. She went back to Zara's room, finding Marcus asleep in the chair, his hand still holding his daughter's. The monitors beeped steadily. The crisis had passed. Beatrice settled into the second chair, completing their makeshift family portrait. The hospital room felt less like a place of sickness and more like a place of healing in that moment. For all of them, Zara spent 6 days in the hospital. Each day she got stronger. Color returned to her cheeks. Her laughter filled the room again. Marcus practically lived in that hospital chair, leaving only when Beatrice insisted. On the 5th day, Dr. Harrison declared her out of danger. She can go home tomorrow if tonight goes well. Complete recovery expected. Marcus closed his eyes, relief washing over him like a physical wave. Thank you. I don't know how to thank Mrs. Montgomery. Without her intervention, you'd have ended up at county with a very different outcome. After the doctor left, Marcus turned to Beatrice. I owe you everything. You owe me nothing. This is what family does. We're not family. Aren't we? He had no answer for that. That afternoon, Zara sat up in bed working on a drawing. She'd been given a new sketch pad by one of the nurses, and she'd barely put it down. What are you making? Beatrice asked, settling into her usual chair. A picture for you, to say thank you for helping me get better. You don't need to thank me, sweetheart. I know, but I want to. Zara's tongue poked out as she concentrated, adding careful details with her crayons. Marcus had gone to the cafeteria for actual food instead of vending machine snacks. Beatrice and Zara sat together in comfortable silence, the only sounds the scratch of crayon on paper and the rhythmic beeping of monitors. Done. Zara held up the drawing triumphantly. Beatrice looked at the picture, her heart squeezing. 3 figures stood in front of a house. A tall man in brown, a little girl in pink, and a silver-haired woman in blue. They held hands, forming a chain across the page. Above them, Zara had drawn a big red heart. This is beautiful. That's you, and that's Daddy, and that's me. We're a family. See the heart, that means we love each other. Beatrice studied the drawing, emotion thick in her throat. We do love each other, don't we? Uh-huh. You're my heart grandma. Remember? I remember. Zara set the drawing aside, suddenly serious. In that way, children could shift without warning. Mrs. Beatrice, can I ask you something important? Of course. Do you have to be related to someone to be their real grandma? Beatrice chose her words carefully. No, sweetheart. Family is about love, not just blood. So if someone loves you like a grandma and you love them like a granddaughter, that makes it real. I believe it does. Zara nodded, processing this. Then she looked up, her dark eyes, serious and hopeful. Then, can you be my real grandma? Not just my heart grandma, but my actual forever grandma? The question landed like a physical blow. Beatrice felt tears spring to her eyes instantly. I mean, if you want to, Zara continued, uncertainty creeping in. You don't have to. I just thought maybe you might want a granddaughter who lives close and could visit all the time and… Yes. Beatrice's voice broke. Yes, I would be honored to be your real grandma. Really? You mean it? More than anything I've ever meant in my life. Zara launched herself forward, wrapping her arms around Beatrice's neck. The IV line pulled taut, and Beatrice carefully adjusted it while holding the child close. I love you, Grandma Beatrice. The words shattered the last of Beatrice's carefully maintained composure. She wept openly, holding this precious child who'd given her more in 6 weeks than she'd received in 6 years. I love you too, my darling girl, so very much. They stayed like that until Marcus returned, stopping short in the doorway when he saw them. What happened? Is she okay? Beatrice pulled back, wiping her eyes. She's perfect, absolutely perfect. Zara beamed at her father. Daddy, Mrs. Beatrice said yes, she's going to be my real grandma now. Marcus looked between them, understanding dawning on his face. Zara, did you ask Mrs. Beatrice to? She asked if I would be her grandmother, and I said yes. Beatrice met his eyes directly. If that's all right with you? Marcus stood there, this young man who'd carried so much weight for so long. His eyes shone with unshed tears. Yeah, he said quietly. Yeah, that's more than all right. Zara clapped her hands. Now we're a real family, just like my picture. Beatrice looked at the drawing again, seeing it with new eyes. Not a fantasy, but a blueprint for something real. That evening, after Zara fell asleep, Marcus and Beatrice sat in the hallway outside her room. The hospital had quieted visiting hours over, but no one questioned Beatrice's presence. She's gotten attached to you, Marcus said. Really attached. The feeling is mutual. I need to know this is real, that you're not going to get bored and disappear. Because if you're going to leave better now, then after she's even more invested. His protectiveness was fierce, and Beatrice respected it. I'm not going anywhere. That little girl has given me more joy in 6 weeks than I've had in decades. She's family now. You both are. Marcus absorbed this, his expression complex. You really mean that? I do. And I know it's unconventional. I know people will talk, but I'm too old to care what anyone thinks anymore. People already talk about me. Single black father struggling to survive. I'm used to being judged. Then we'll be judged together. He smiled slightly. You know what's funny? I grew up being told to stay away from people like you. Rich white folks who'd use you up and throw you away. But here you are saving my daughter's life. And you've saved mine, just in a different way. How do you figure? I was dying of loneliness. Going through motions, waiting to die in that big empty house. Then Zara asked if I was sad, and everything changed. They sat in silence, both processing the magnitude of what they'd stumbled into. My daughter's going to have questions, Beatrice said finally, when she finds out about you and Zara. Will she be angry? Probably. Claire has a lot of resentment about how I raised her. Seeing me be a better grandmother to your daughter than I was a mother to her, it won't go over well. We don't have to do this, if it's going to cause problems with your real family. You are my real family. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Beatrice's voice was firm. I failed Claire. I can't change the past. But I can choose differently now. And I choose you and Zara. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. You're serious. Completely. This is crazy. You know that right, rich old white lady and poor young black guy becoming family people are going to lose their minds. Let them. I've spent my whole life living for other people's approval. I'm done with that. He laughed, surprised and genuine. All right then, welcome to the family, I guess. Welcome to the family. They shook hands, the gesture formal and absurd and perfect. Zara came home from the hospital to a surprise. Beatrice had arranged for her apartment to be cleaned, restocked with food, and filled with flowers. Marcus stood in the doorway, stunned. "You didn't have to do all this." "I wanted to. Besides, what kind of grandmother would I be if I didn't make sure my granddaughter came home to something nice?" Zara ran through the apartment, exclaiming over every detail. Fresh sheets on the bed, new curtains that actually blocked light, the broken radiator finally fixed. "Grandma Beatrice, this is amazing." The title still made Beatrice's heart skip. She'd never tire of hearing it. Over the next 2 weeks, they fell into a routine. Beatrice would visit twice a week, always bringing something: groceries, supplies, small gifts. Marcus stopped protesting. He'd found work doing handyman jobs, but income was inconsistent. One afternoon, Beatrice arrived to find Marcus pacing the apartment phone pressed to his ear. "I understand that, but I have skills. I can do the work. Just give me a chance to prove it." Pause. "Yes, I understand. Thank you for your time." He hung up, frustration radiating off him. Another rejection. "They were interested until I showed up for the interview. Then suddenly the position was filled." His voice was bitter. "Same story, different company." "What kind of work are you looking for?" "Property management. I'm good with repairs, maintenance, dealing with tenants. But nobody will hire me without experience, and I can't get experience because nobody will hire me." An idea formed in Beatrice's mind. "I own several rental properties. The management company I use is expensive and inefficient. Would you be interested in taking over?" Marcus's expression turned wary. "I don't want a pity job." "It's not pity. It's business. I pay that company $4,000 a month to do work you could do better. I'd rather pay you." $4,000 a month, plus benefits and use of a company vehicle for property visits. He stared at her. That's more money than I've ever made." "Then you've been underpaid. The job is legitimate. I need someone I trust to manage my properties. You need steady income. It's mutually beneficial." "People are going to say you're just giving me a handout." "People can think whatever they want. I'm offering you a job because you're qualified, and I trust you. Yes or no?" Marcus looked at Zara, who was coloring at the table, oblivious to the conversation that would change their lives. "Yes, thank you. I won't let you down." "I know you won't." The following week, Beatrice made another decision. She called Marcus to the mansion, asking him to bring Zara. When they arrived, she led them not to the main house, but to the guest cottage on the property. It sat at the edge of the garden, a charming 2-bedroom structure that had been empty for years. "I've been thinking," Beatrice said as they walked through. "This cottage is just sitting here unused. It seems wasteful." Marcus looked around at the hardwood floors, the updated kitchen, the spacious bedrooms. "It's beautiful. It needs someone living in it, taking care of it. Would you both consider moving in?" The offer hung in the air. Zara's eyes went wide. "We'd live here on your property. You'd have your own space, your own entrance, privacy. But you'd be close enough that we could see each other regularly, and Zara would have the garden to play in." Marcus shook his head slowly. "This is too much. It's practical. You'd be on site to manage the main house maintenance. It makes sense." "Does it? Or are you trying to save us again?" "Can't it be both?" Beatrice met his eyes. "Marcus, that apartment is barely livable. Zara deserves better. You deserve better. I have this space sitting empty. Why not use it? Because people don't just give away free housing. I'm not giving it away. You'll pay rent. Reduced rent, but rent nonetheless. And you'll earn it by maintaining the property." He walked through the cottage again, seeing the possibilities. Zara ran from room to room, already claiming the smaller bedroom as hers. "What's the catch?" "No catch, just I'd like to have family nearby." "Is that so terrible?" His resistance crumbled. "No, that's not terrible at all." They moved in 3 weeks later. It took less than a day because they owned so little, but Beatrice had furniture delivered stocked to the kitchen, made sure the cottage felt like home. That first evening, she invited them to the main house for dinner. Maria had prepared Marcus's favorite pot roast with all the trimmings. After dinner, Zara asked to see the rest of the house. Beatrice gave her the grand tour, showing her rooms that hadn't been opened in years. "Why is everything so big?" Zara asked, staring up at the vaulted ceilings. "Because I was trying to fill emptiness with space. It didn't work." They climbed to the 3rd floor, where Beatrice rarely ventured. At the end of the hall sat a locked door. "What's in there?" Beatrice hesitated, then pulled out a key she always carried. "Something I haven't looked at in a very long time." She opened the door to a bedroom frozen in time. Pink walls, stuffed animals on shelves, a canopy bed with lace curtains. Claire's childhood room preserved exactly as she'd left it 30 years ago. Whose room is this? It was my daughter's, when she was about your age. Zara walked around carefully touching things with reverence. She had so many toys. She did, but I don't think she was very happy. Why not? How to explain to a child? Because I gave her things instead of time. I thought providing for her was the same as loving her. That's sad. It is. I made many mistakes with Claire, mistakes I can't fix. Zara looked at her with those wise, serious eyes. Maybe you can't fix the past, but you're doing better now, with me. The simple truth of it brought tears to Beatrice's eyes. I'm trying. I know. That's what matters. They stood in that preserved shrine to Beatrice's failures, and somehow it felt less heavy with Zara there. Grandma Beatrice, can I tell you a secret? Of course, sweetheart. I used to wish I had a grandma. I'd see other kids with their grandmas and feel sad. But now I have you, and you're even better than I imagined. Beatrice pulled Zara into a hug, holding her close in this room full of regrets and missed chances, but also full of hope for second chances. I used to wish I'd been a better mother, Beatrice whispered. Now I get to be a better grandmother. You've given me that gift. They left the room together, closing the door on the past and walking toward the future. 2 days later, Beatrice's phone rang. Claire's name on the screen. Hello, darling. Mom, I've been thinking about your invitation. Emily and I would like to visit this weekend, if the offer still stands. Beatrice's heart raced. Of course it stands. I'd love that. Saturday afternoon, we can only stay a few hours. Perfect. I'll make lunch. After hanging up, Beatrice sat in silence, anxiety and excitement warring inside her. She wanted Claire to meet Zara and Marcus, but she also feared her daughter's reaction. Saturday arrived too quickly. Beatrice had Maria prepare a beautiful lunch. She'd agonized over whether to have Marcus and Zara there, finally deciding honesty was better than hiding. Claire arrived in a sleek BMW, Emily practically bouncing in her car seat. Beatrice watched from the window as her daughter helped her granddaughter out, both dressed expensively and perfectly. She opened the door before they could knock. Mom! Claire's greeting was stiff formal. Claire, Emily, hello, sweetheart. Emily hid behind her mother's legs, peeking out shyly. Come in, please. They stepped into the foyer, and Claire looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. You've redecorated. Just freshened things up? An awkward silence fell. Beatrice was about to suggest lunch when Zara's laughter rang out from the garden. Through the window, they could see her playing on the lawn, Marcus nearby watching. Claire froze. Who is that? That's Zara, and her father Marcus. They're family. Family? What are you talking about? Before Beatrice could answer, Zara spotted her through the window and came running. She burst through the door, then stopped short when she saw strangers. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you had visitors, Grandma Beatrice. The title hung in the air. Claire's face went pale, then flushed with anger. Grandma? Did she just call you Grandma? Marcus appeared in the doorway, reading the situation immediately. Zara, come on, we should go. No, Beatrice said firmly. Stay, please. She turned to Claire. This is Zara and Marcus Williams. They live in the guest cottage. And yes, Zara calls me Grandma because that's what we are to each other. Claire's voice was ice. You have got to be kidding me. I don't hear from you for months, and when I finally visit, I find out you've replaced me with strangers. Nobody's replacing anyone, Claire. Really? Because it sure looks like you found yourself a new family. Was I that inadequate as a daughter? Emily started crying, overwhelmed by the tension. Zara looked stricken. Marcus picked up Zara. We're going. Mrs. Montgomery will talk later. Don't leave on my account, Claire said bitterly. You're apparently more important to my mother than I am. Claire, that's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? You ignored me my entire childhood. Now you're playing grandmother to some random kid while your actual granddaughter is standing right here. The words were poison meant to hurt. They succeeded. I'm sorry, Beatrice said quietly. I'm sorry I failed you as a mother. I'm sorry for every time I chose work over you. But that doesn't mean I stop living. It doesn't mean I turn away from people who need me. People who need your money, you mean? Marcus stepped forward, anger finally breaking through his usual calm. I don't need her money. Your mother saved my daughter's life. She gave us kindness when the world gave us nothing. If you can't see the value in that, that's your problem, not hers. "Excuse me. You don't get to talk to me about my mother. Stop." Beatrice's voice cut through. "Everyone just stop." She looked at Claire, at Emily, still crying, at Zara's frightened face, at Marcus's protective stance. This was a disaster. "Claire, I love you. I love Emily, but I also love Zara and Marcus. My heart is big enough for all of you. The question is, can you accept that?" Claire grabbed Emily's hand. "We're leaving. Please don't. Enjoy your new family, mother. Clearly, you don't need us anymore." The door slammed. Beatrice stood frozen, watching through the window as Claire drove away. Zara started crying. Marcus held her close, murmuring comfort. "I'm sorry," Zara sobbed. "I ruined everything." Beatrice knelt down, taking Zara's face in her hands. "No, sweetheart. You didn't ruin anything. This is old pain, not new. This has nothing to do with you." "But she hates me." "She doesn't hate you. She's hurt and angry at me, and you got caught in the crossfire." Marcus met Beatrice's eyes over Zara's head. The question was clear. Was this worth it? Beatrice answered without words, pulling them both into a hug. Yes, absolutely yes. 1 year later, the garden was transformed. Lights strung through trees, tables set with crisp white linens. The fountain Marcus had fixed burbled peacefully, surrounded by flowers in full bloom. Beatrice stood on the terrace, surveying the preparations for her 73rd birthday party. Maria fussed with place settings, while Edward directed the catering staff. "Mrs. Montgomery, where do you want the gift table?" "By the fountain, I think." Movement caught her eye. Zara ran across the lawn in a blue dress, her hair in elaborate braids. She'd grown so much in a year, taller and more confident. "Grandma, come see what Daddy and I made for you." Beatrice followed her to the cottage, where Marcus stood with a large wrapped object. "Happy birthday," he said, grinning. They'd built her a bench, beautiful dark wood with intricate carving along the back. Her name was engraved on a small plaque, "Beatrice's Garden, where family grows." "It's perfect," Beatrice breathed, running her hand over the smooth wood. "Absolutely perfect." "We made it together," Zara announced proudly. "I helped with the sanding." Best gift I've ever received. Marcus was now the full-time property manager for Beatrice's holdings, and he'd thrived in the role. He'd taken classes, earned certifications, built relationships with tenants. The properties had never been better maintained. More importantly, he'd regained the confidence poverty had stripped away. He stood taller now, smiled easier, dreamed bigger. And Zara was thriving. She attended a good school, had friends, took art classes. She still drew constantly, but now her subjects included gardens and fountains and family dinners. The doorbell rang. Beatrice's heart jumped. "That might be them," Marcus said quietly. Over the past year, Beatrice had slowly rebuilt her relationship with Claire. It had been painful, full of difficult conversations, and old wounds reopened. But they'd made progress. Claire had called last week. "Emily keeps asking about the little girl in the pictures, the one who lives with Grandma." "Her name is Zara." "I know. I think we should try again." "The visit, if you're willing." "I'm always willing." Now Beatrice walked to the front door, hoping against hope. Claire stood there with Emily, both dressed for a party. Claire's expression was guarded, but not hostile. "Happy birthday, Mom." "Thank you for coming." Emily peeked around her mother. "Is Zara here?" "She is. Would you like to meet her?" The little girl nodded enthusiastically. Beatrice led them to the garden, where Zara was helping arrange flowers. When she saw Emily, she stopped, suddenly shy. "Zara, this is Emily. Emily, this is Zara." The girls stared at each other, both 5 years old, both uncertain. Then Emily asked, "Do you like drawing?" Zara's face brightened. "I love drawing." "Me too. Do you want to see my new markers?" Just like that, they were off running toward the cottage where Zara's art supplies waited. The simple way children made friends, uncomplicated by adult baggage. Claire watched them go, her expression complex. "She seems like a sweet kid." "She is." "Would you like to meet Marcus?" They found him by the fountain, adjusting the water flow. Claire tensed when she saw him, but Beatrice made the introduction anyway. "Marcus, this is my daughter Claire. Claire Marcus Williams." Marcus wiped his hands on his pants, extending one. "Nice to finally meet you. Your mother talks about you all the time." Claire shook his hand briefly. "I'm sure she does." The tension was thick, but Marcus handled it with grace. "I'll let you two talk. Holler if you need anything." After he left, Claire turned to Beatrice. "So that's him." "That's him. And you really see them as family." "I do. They live here, we share meals, we support each other. That's what family does." Claire looked toward the cottage where children's laughter rang out. It's weird, seeing you like this. You were never this warm with me. I know, and I'm sorrier for that than you'll ever know. Are you trying to replace what we didn't have using them to make up for your failures with me? Beatrice considered the question carefully. Maybe at first, but it's evolved into something real. I love Zara. I love Marcus, not as replacements, but as themselves. And them, do they love you or do they love your money? That's unfair, Claire. Is it? You're rich, they're poor. How do you know they're not using you? Beatrice felt anger flash, but she kept her voice level. Marcus works for every penny I pay him. He's turned down gifts. He insists on maintaining his dignity. And Zara, that child loves me because I see her spend time with her, treat her like she matters. The very things I failed to do with you. The truth landed hard. Claire's eyes filled with tears. I wanted you to love me like that. When I was little, I would have given anything for you to look at me the way you look at her. I know, and I failed you. I can't change the past, Claire. I can only try to be better now. It hurts, seeing what I missed. I imagine it does, but punishing Zara for my mistakes isn't the answer. She didn't take anything from you. I gave it freely because I learned from losing you. They stood in silence, years of pain between them. Finally, Claire spoke. I don't know if I can forgive you. Not completely. I'm not asking for complete forgiveness, just a chance. For Emily to know her grandmother. For us to build something even if it's different from what we lost. And them, they're part of this package. Yes, they are. Claire looked at the cottage again, where both girls were visible through the window heads bent over artwork. Emily needs cousins, real or chosen. She turned back to Beatrice. I'll try, but this is going to take time. I've got time, all the time you need. The party began at 4. Neighbors arrived, business associates, a few genuine friends Beatrice had accumulated. They mingled in the garden, drinks in hand, murmuring about the beautiful setting. Some gave Marcus curious looks. Others whispered about the black man in worn khakis among the wealthy guests. Beatrice saw it all and didn't care. At 5, she gathered everyone by the fountain. Marcus stood with Zara on one side, Claire with Emily on the other. The two girls held hands, already inseparable after just 2 hours. Thank you all for coming, Beatrice began. I'm 73 today, and I've learned something important this year. Family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up when you need them, who love you despite your flaws, who give you reasons to keep going. She gestured to Marcus and Zara. This is my family. They gave me purpose when I had none. Then to Claire and Emily. And this is my family too. We're rebuilding what was broken, and it's hard, but it's worth it. She looked at everyone assembled. I spent decades building an empire, but the real wealth is standing right here. These people who matter. That's what I'm celebrating today. The guests applauded politely, though some looked uncomfortable. Beatrice didn't care about their approval anymore. Dinner was served. Beatrice had arranged the seating carefully. She sat at the head with Zara on her right and Emily on her left. Marcus sat beside Zara, Claire beside Emily. The meal started awkwardly. Claire barely spoke, watching Marcus with suspicious eyes. But as the evening progressed, something shifted. Emily asked Zara to show her paintings after dinner. Both girls dragged their mothers to see. In the cottage, surrounded by Zara's artwork, Claire's expression softened. She's talented. Very, Beatrice agreed. She wants to be an artist when she grows up. Emily wants to be a dancer. Perhaps Zara could paint the sets for Emily's performances someday. Claire almost smiled. Perhaps? They returned to find Marcus teaching a group of guests how to fix the string lights that had come loose. He explained with easy confidence, and people actually listened. He's good with people, Claire observed. He's good at everything he does. Given a real chance, he's thrived. You really believe in him? I do. He's one of the best men I've ever known. Claire watched him with the girls who'd recruited him for some game. He played along with genuine enthusiasm, making them laugh. I see why Zara loves you, Claire said quietly. You're present. You pay attention. You show up. I'm trying to be what I should have been for you. That's what hurts most, knowing you could have been this person all along. I know. I'm sorry. They stood together in the growing dark lights twinkling overhead, watching their daughters play. Mom, Claire's voice was tentative. Maybe we could do this again. Dinner next month at my place? Beatrice's heart swelled. I would love that. And maybe Marcus and Zara could come too. Emily clearly adores her. Really? I'm not saying we're fixed, but maybe we can build something new." Beatrice pulled her daughter into a hug, the first real embrace in years. Claire stiffened briefly, then relaxed into it. "Thank you," Beatrice whispered. "Don't thank me yet. I'm still angry, still hurt." "I know, but this is a start." They pulled apart as Zara ran over Emily close behind. "Grandma Beatrice, we want cake." "Yeah, Grandma Cake Time," Emily had called her grandma, naturally without prompting. Beatrice looked at her two granddaughters, one biological and one chosen, both precious, beyond measure. "Cake it is." They gathered around the table as Maria brought out a massive cake, candles blazing. Everyone sang slightly off-key, but enthusiastic. Beatrice looked around at the faces surrounding her. Marcus, who'd become like a son. Zara, her heart granddaughter. Claire slowly healing. Emily getting a second chance at knowing her grandmother. Maria and Edward loyal through everything. She'd spent her whole life chasing success, building wealth-climbing ladders. But standing here with frosting on her fingers and children's laughter in her ears, she finally understood what really mattered. Not the mansion, not the money, not the social standing or business empire. Just this. People who loved her. People she loved back. A family cobbled together from broken pieces, imperfect but real. Marcus raised his glass. "To Beatrice, for showing us all what family really means." "To Grandma," Zara shouted. "To Mom," Claire added, her voice catching. They drank, and Beatrice felt something she hadn't felt in decades complete. Later, after the guests left and the girls fell asleep in the cottage, Beatrice sat on her new bench. Marcus joined her, both of them quiet in the peaceful night. "You know what's funny?" Marcus said. "A year ago, I was broke, hopeless, terrified for my daughter's future. Now I have a good job, a home, and Zara has a grandmother who adores her. Life's weird. A year ago, I was rich, lonely, and waiting to die. Now I have purpose again. You're right. Life is weird. Think Claire will really come around? I think we're making progress. That's all I can ask." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the fountain. "Thank you," Beatrice said, "for letting me into your lives, for giving me a second chance at family. Thank you for seeing us, for treating us like we matter. You do matter, more than you know." The night deepened around them. Inside the cottage, Zara and Emily slept peacefully, already best friends. In the main house, Claire had stayed to help clean up, a small gesture that meant everything. Beatrice looked at her garden, at the home she'd built, not just with money, but with love. She thought about that rainy night in the diner when a lonely old woman met a desperate father and his brave daughter. One moment of kindness, one simple meal shared. From that, everything had grown. "Happy birthday to me," Beatrice whispered. Marcus smiled. "Happy birthday, Mom." The title made her eyes sting. She'd gained a son, a granddaughter, and slowly reclaimed her daughter. Money couldn't buy this. Power couldn't create it. Only love, patience, and showing up every day could build what she'd found. A family. Imperfect, unconventional, absolutely real. And worth more than every empire she'd ever built.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.